City Talk, where we try to explain to you what exactly it means to have your taxpayer dollars at work. And these days, it's your taxpayer dollars at work from home. We meet a wide variety of city employees and say hello to John Chapman from the Department of Special Events, which is contained within the Department of Public Safety. John, welcome to City Talk.
Thank you, John. How are you?
Really good. A really nice background you got there.
That's my living room.
Cool. What is what's the little ball, the little red ball?
It's an 8-ball.
Oh, it's an 8-ball. No kidding. Does it really have the things in it? Okay, it does. All right.
It does, yeah.
Awesome.
It says not to give this interview, but I'm going to give it anyway. So
you'd be a moron to do this interview. So the Department of Special Events, explain what that means and what you do.
Well, John, basically what I do when event organizers want to hold special events in the city of Pittsburgh on city property, which is any city building, street, park, then they apply for a special event permit through our office. And from that point on, I'll process the application through the Special Events Committee review process, which is comprised of several city departments that would provide services or details for events. So we coordinate the services at those meetings, and that's where the events are usually approved.
And you're approving, or hopefully approving for the people applying for the permits, everything from a block party to a Rolling Stones concert at Heinz Field.
That's correct. Block parties are a little different process. It's an easier process, but yes.
I would think that would be easier, yeah. How complicated is it to get the Rolling Stones? I mean, we can't get them in now because of COVID, but when the times are normal, how much work is it to get the Rolling Stones into Heinz Field?
Well, the Rolling Stones, they were actually confirmed for last year, as you know.
Yes. I still have $1,300 worth of tickets burning a hole in my wallet.
They rescheduled, hopefully for 2021.
Okay.
Later this summer.
Ideally.
The city's involvement is a little different for concerts because the concerts are held on, it's public property, but not city-owned property. So our permit process involves closing the streets around the stadiums, enabling them to load in, load out for the week, things like that. Then additionally, Heinz Field will hire city EMS and police details for the crowd. The challenge this year with an event like that is, or any large event really, are gathering restrictions. You know, right now they're kind of low until that's opened up.
Right.
You know, it's hard to say if any large event will happen.
But you, oddly enough, have been just as busy, if not busier, canceling events that were scheduled and trying to reschedule them far enough on to the future that hopefully that they'll be able to take place.
Right. Since March, I've been actually busier than I would normally have been because essentially all of 2020 events canceled. And I've been pretty involved with those cancellations, reschedules, application fee, refunds, and starting this past summer in June, accepting new applications with the hopes that they can happen in 2021 or later last year. Some events did happen, but so we're accepting applications, but everything is really contingent now at this point on COVID restrictions.
And under normal circumstances, you wouldn't be giving the refund. That's sort of understood, but because of COVID, and that was the reason for cancellation, you have been providing refunds.
That's correct.
And you have a background in special events that goes beyond your days at the city, correct? You used to work for the county?
Actually, I worked for Allegheny County for several years, including the manager of special events for the county, which was a little different because in that role, our small office, we had 4 people in the office, we coordinated events rather than permitting outside events. So we did our own events, most notably the summer concerts at Hartwood and South Park and the county courtyard.
Yeah, those are huge events.
Huge events. You know, it was a 4-person staff, and we did it all from sponsorship proposals to seeking foundation monies to pay for the bookings, to pay the talent. We negotiated the contracts, you know, had the county commissioners approve everything, of course, and then coordinated all the hospitality that goes along with the concerts.
Yeah, that's an enormous amount of responsibility and a huge deal.
For a 4-person staff, it was huge, but a very fun job. And I'll tell you what, John, I worked with some of the best, at that time, the best event folks and creative minds in the business. They're still involved.
No doubt. So tell us where you're from originally.
I'm from Uptown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to grade school and high school and then went to college?
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, all my life. And
which
then
school for college?
went to Robert Morris
Okay.
and Penn State.
And were you, was your major, did it have anything to do with special events or was something altogether
It
different?
did not. I get an interest in special events after working for the special events office in Allegheny County. That's when I got the special events bug. Honestly, I've always believed that an eventful city is a better city. And so in that role, we really provided a good quality of life program for the citizens of the county. And I often wanted to get involved in the city because I live here to play a small part in that process here.
Mm-hmm.
So when the opportunity arose, and I believe I started in 2014, I started with the city.
Generally speaking, what kinds of reasons might you have to turn down a permit or have them resubmit an application?
The city tries very hard not to deny events, but we can't approve events that conflict with other events or other things happening in the city. So an event organizer may have to maybe ask to change their plans, location, a date, time, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We try very hard not to deny permits. There are reasons though.
And has the engagement been updated quite a bit because there's a lot more online traffic than there was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. I mean, I literally, you talked about me sitting in my living room. I can work from anywhere. As long as I have a computer, internet access, and a telephone, there's no reason to be sitting, in the city county building.
And where is your living room? I'm not looking for a specific address, but what neighborhood?
I'm in Uptown still.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Stayed
I
roots.
only moved outside of Pittsburgh for about 2 years. I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is from near Chattanooga.
Is there in fact a Chattanooga Choo Choo?
There is,
Okay.
and I've been there. Yeah, and
Oh,
there's a
you've
hotel. Yeah, there's a hotel there too. It's nice.
Cool.
Chattanooga is very similar to Pittsburgh. It
How
was
so?
an industrial town for several years. River running right through downtown. Not two rivers, but one.
Right.
At one point in time, I'm not sure when, but it was called the Pittsburgh of the South because of all the industry on the rivers. And in the 70s, it was called the dirtiest city in the country. Pittsburgh was second, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
A dubious
So
distinction for both. Yeah.
since then, though, Chattanooga's really made an effort to clean up their city, and they've done a hell of a job with the riverfront development. I believe in the 90s. Yeah, starting in the 90s. It's beautiful.
And Pittsburgh has been kind of a late bloomer in that category too, but they're doing their best to catch up. I think.
Yeah. Chattanooga was first. So I believe the city at one point in the early 2000s sent a group of city council people to Chattanooga to see what they did right and invited them up here.
That.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how have you been coping with COVID?
I've been coping fine. I can, the adjustment was a little different, but I adjusted, fast, and it's fine. My wife works from home. I have 3 kids, one of which does online schooling. That part's tough.
So would you recommend a career in government service, having spent so much of your life in government?
I would, John. I would. It's not for everybody, but public service it's rewarding, and I think it's something that I would recommend to other folks.
All right. Well, try not to kill anybody and don't let anybody kill you.
Thanks, John.
John Chapman of the Department of Special Events. We'll be back with another guest from something called the Devices Team. What on earth could that be on City Talk when we come back? performance, which is the department I work in here in the city of Pittsburgh, is something called the devices team. I don't know why I'm giving it air quotes. That's just a fun thing to do. What on earth is the devices team and what kind of devices are they providing? Here's Ryan Peters, who recently joined that team to explain it all to us. Ryan, welcome to City Talk.
Thanks for having me. I'd also just like to point out that John and I are literally down the hall from one another in separate rooms.
Yes,
to make
even though
this conversation
at least I work at home most of the time, but for some reason we've made our way into the building, and yet we're really socially distancing because you're about, like, I don't know, 100 feet down the hall.
Yeah. So this is like a new version of Zoom, the Zoom experience that's like in separate rooms of the city.
Yeah,
So
does it still count as a Zoom? I suppose it does.
it does. Yeah, I guess it does. It does.
All right. Well, I see you have the drab walls of a cafeteria setting in the department behind you.
I am in the Nellie Bly conference room. So I
It's
figured,
it's a conference room. Okay.
yeah, I figured you didn't want the drab secure storage room with all the devices piled high, which is where I usually am.
Yes, you are holed up in something called secure storage.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, first of all, has the storage been secured?
It is very secure,
Good,
very
good.
secure. I mean, no one's really at the city. I mean, there's only a few of us that are working on the 6th floor at the city. So it's been pretty quiet. You know, there's only probably 5 or 6 of us, 3 other members of our team that are on the devices team that are actually coming in. So.
And what is the devices team and what kind of devices are we talking about?
Everything. That's really, that's the gist of it. But yeah, so we're a team of 4 people roughly. I'm an intern on this team, and then there's a mobile guy, and there's a computer guy. But basically, right now we're in the throes of a tech refresh project, which basically means city is getting an upgrade. So they're getting all kinds of new devices through a relationship that we have with Dell. So
talking mostly computers, iPhones, stationary computers within police cars, etc.
Yeah, like I like to think of us as like its own little ancillary department within innovation and performance. So like a lot of the times we'll have someone from Public Works say that they say, well, we need a device that has these 5 or 6 specific programs. And we're the ones that are trying to match them with a device that's compatible with not only those programs, but also making sure that it can efficiently run too. So
do you mean somebody who's operating a snowplow, or who might need several specialized programs? Do you have an example?
Yeah, so I think you had someone on City Talk a little while ago talking about GIS and how the city can
making maps.
Yeah, making maps, right? So that's I'm a grad student as well, and so I've taken a couple of GIS classes, and they're very hard on your computer. So you want to make sure that you have a device that is going to be compatible and isn't going to shut down on you when you're trying to make and add all of this very meaningful data that's really helpful when you're trying to run a city. So.
And everybody relies on these devices, but it's particularly probably important in public safety, the firemen and women, the policemen and women. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And we have these things called like rugged devices too. So for the people that are, going in and out of cars, Pittsburgh is cold, right? So
yes,
you want to make sure
today.
you have a device that's going to be, suitable for those types of environments. And so we have these huge devices that are like, you can throw against the wall and they won't break. So that's super, super important.
How did you develop the background to be qualified to be a devices guy?
That's a good question. I think it was predominantly most of my experiences in sort of like the communication realms. But I have had a lot of experience sort of working on or doing things that involve a lot of like logistical management. And that's really what it comes down to, like with the Tech Refresh project itself, right? There's like a lot of emailing back and forth with department heads and, coordinating, especially in the time of COVID. It's really trying to sort of bridge the gap to get people their devices safely as safely as possible. And so that sort of adds an extra layer to, the complicated process of getting people their devices. And so, I just have worked with on a number of different projects where logistically, they've had to have someone that kind of knows, can do intake and can email people. And so that's a lot of what I do. So.
Are you also teaching people how to use devices?
That's not, that's
I know
definitely.
other people do that. I didn't know if that was also
Yeah,
your
that's
bailiwick. Okay.
definitely either of my two other colleagues that are very techie people. That is not me.
Yeah, oddly enough, I'm also in the computer department, and I'm not Mr. Computer.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
I am from a small suburb outside of Syracuse. So from Baldwinsville, New York. So go Bees.
And where'd you go? And that's where you went to school?
Yeah, so I went to school 45 minutes from Syracuse, a small SUNY school, State University of New York at Oswego. So that's right on Lake Ontario. So I'm used to cold winters and
Wow, I can imagine.
below freezing wind chills. So Pittsburgh was not a hard transition for me.
And then how did you find out about the internship and get to do that?
Yeah, so it's actually a really great story. I'm also a graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh, the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. And I actually took a class with someone that works here at INP. And really, he just told me, if you're interested in public service, if you're interested in working in local government, he said, you should really consider, any internship with the city. But, I'm kind of a detail oriented person. So he said that, there's a number of different teams that would be able to, use you as a resource. And so you can continue
So
building.
that's somebody who moonlights as a professor over there. Who was that?
That's Chris Velasco. So
I thought so. He's a recent CityTalk guest. We revealed his prom date. We had a picture of his prom date. One of the more recent episodes of CityTalk, and I remember that he was also teaching.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I don't interact with Chris that often, but in my first correspondence, I was like, do I call you Dr. Velasco? Do I call you Professor? Do I call you Chris? And so he's like, you can just call me Chris. So we're on a first name basis. So that's nice.
How about that? Very exciting. So how do you like it here so far? Let me ask you the question I ask everybody. How are you coping with COVID?
Good. I mean, it's we're in it a year now. Funny enough, I actually was supposed to, I'm a little hurt because this time last year, I was supposed to be in Barcelona. I was doing a trip with a friend, and then.
You weren't going to do the running from the bulls, I hope.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't get very far, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was supposed to be on a plane. I was like on the way to the airport, and then, I talked to mom and dad, and they were like, "I don't think you should go." And it was a good call. It was a good.
Because you might never have gotten back in.
I probably wouldn't have been able to come back in, but
yeah.
I mean, it's challenging for anyone, right? It's I have to say, sort of having the ability to come into the office is great because I feel like I'm sitting at a desk for 12 hours a day. And so I only work 20 hours here at the city.
But just so everybody knows, the city does pay you, and they actually give you a responsibility.
Yes. Yep. And I'm really grateful to the city just because my internship experience, it's very meaningful work. So, it's not getting coffee. I mean, not that there's anyone here to get coffee
I
for.
understand, yeah.
But they're actually having me do some real meaningful tasks. And I really enjoy being able to come into the office or an office space 20 hours a week because it breaks up the mundanity of my everyday sort of existence, or all of ours, right? So.
And I just learned a new word, mundanity. Thank you. How about that? So were you not necessarily pulled into the world of devices before, but now you may have a future in it? How will this give you a launching pad to do whatever you do next?
Perhaps. Yeah. I mean, I have a strong love for, I think in the last 2 years, and I'm going to graduate in April, I've grown very fondly of civil service or public service. And, the people that I work with every day are just, the work that they're doing is super helpful to the city. And so it's really given me some good exposure to, potential, career, like a potential career trajectory. So
No, I have seen some interns here who end up staying at least for a while. I mean, full time. So you never know.
we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. You have to talk to the people here for me.
I will. I'll put in a good word for you, though. That could hurt in the long run.
Okay, let's go. Okay, then don't say anything.
Okay, it's the deal. Are you surprised to find out, or let me ask you this, was your impression that there might be a bunch of people sitting around smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, but it turns out they're actually good people trying to do good work?
No, I mean, and maybe it's just my experience, like going to graduate school, and a lot of my professors are like have worked in city government or whatever. I think that's the perception, but I'm happy to report to the good people of Pittsburgh that is not the case. We have to watch you, John, but that's the extent of they're good people that I work with, and the work that they're doing is super important for the city. And there's so many. It's weird working in government too, because I think you don't realize how much the city actually does. So yeah, it's been a really interesting and important, I would say.
Is there anything in particular you're surprised to find out the city does, or do you just mean the scope of the detail required to get things done?
I would just, yeah, the scope. I mean, I think, going back to the class that I took, I was really fortunate. Dr. Belasco brought in a lot of people because he has good relationships with people here at the city. And so, I know one of the things that they've developed in the past couple of years is like the snowplow tracker, and just creating efficient ways to plow the roads that is, you're conserving gas. So those are just things you don't even think about, right?
Somebody else developed a device to tell when the garbage can is full, a public garbage can.
Yeah.
So they don't have to go there too early to get it and waste a trip, but they know when it's time to go because it's full.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's truthfully one of the great things about innovation and performance is it's really kind of a revolutionary department in terms of like 21st century governing, right? Because they're doing things and they're creating new opportunities and new programs that are trying to make government more efficient. And so those are just a couple of things that we just talked about. Those are a couple of the ways that the city is trying to move to become more sustainable, one, and two, just trying to, do well with your tax-paying money, right? Or your tax dollars.
What neighborhood have you chosen to live in?
So I live in Highland Park. So I lived in Shadyside for a year, and then I moved to Highland, and it's great. It's great. I full disclosure, I lived in Buffalo. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Pittsburgh. And so I just sort of, I have this love for Rust Belt cities. It's super great. You get the feel of like city life, of like an urban environment, but then you also, like living in Highland Park, I live like literally walking distance to parks and green space, and it's great.
It's sort of like a urban suburbia?
Yeah, exactly. It's quiet, it's nice, it's really nice. So I'm super happy. I'm super happy where in living in Highland, and yeah.
And finally, do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
That's a good question, John. I don't know.
It doesn't require to answer. You don't have to know yet. You can.
No, that's $1 million question, right?
No.
When I know, you'll be the first to know. How about that?
I appreciate that. Maybe we can have a second appearance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back and I'll lay out my 2-year plan. How about that?
Well, Ryan Peters of the devices team, I will leave you to your own devices, and please make sure that the storage is secure.
Thank you.
All right, that's City Talk for this episode. We will see you next time. Have a great day.